Hello, Limp Lizards. I have a new episode. It is actually a review. It is The Amazing Spider-Man. It's a film that just came out. And for those of you who may have been, I don't know, not paying attention, it just came out this past week and has done very well. I finally got to see it this past weekend, and what an exciting movie. This is going to have some minor spoilers here and there. So if you're very worried about that, let me just say, I really liked it. Go see it. The end. Alright, now, this film is directed by Mark Webb, perfect name for that. Andrew Garfield is playing Peter Parker this time. Emma Stone is playing, not Mary Jane, but she's playing Gwen Stacy. Rhys Ifans is playing Dr. Kurt Connors, who is the Lizard. Dennis Leary is Captain Stacy. Martin Sheen is Uncle Ben. Sally Field is Aunt May. And those are pretty much the biggest names you need to really worry about. So, is it good? Well, here's the thing. I've noticed a trend with this whole movie reboot thing. There's kind of a natural cycle to these. And how it kind of works is this way. A film of a particular series isn't received very well. Then, within a few years, it gets rebooted. And if it's not too long, actually it doesn't even matter if it's not too long. It could be 20 years. It could be 15 years. And the reaction is, why doesn't Hollywood get any new ideas? Why do they have to reboot it? It was just fine. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be dumb. There's no way it can match the greatness of the previous version of whatever we're talking about. Every single time. And then the movie comes out, and then it seems like the tone shifts to, man, that old version really sucks. Wow, that was really retarded. I can't believe anybody would pay to see such a crappy, shitty film. This is obviously superior. So now we're at that stage with this film. Why? Because, well, it's really damn good. This film is fantastic. Now, I'm not going to do any of the trashing of the Raimi series that is all of a sudden really popular, even of the first film. I like the first films. Actually, I'll say I love the first two, and there are parts of 3 I love. There are parts of 3 I hate. So it's kind of a lukewarm feeling on 3. It's the only one of the original Spider trilogy I don't even own. But the Mark Webb film has the advantage of being able to step back from the Raimi trilogy and take a look, a sobering look at what worked and what didn't work so well. So, I don't know, it seems a little unfair at this point to really brutally compare them in that way. I will, here and there, during this review, though. Anyway, Mark Webb did have a kind of a challenge, because, you know what, the last trilogy was pretty good and is still fondly remembered by a lot of people. And also, Spider-Man's origins really tied into that character. I mean, if you're going to start doing Spider-Man movies, it's really hard to get around that. So, we kind of had to do that again. I know. People say, oh, another superhero origin. Well, Spider-Man's origin is very important to him. So I don't have any problem with that. And the way it's done here, I think it's very... He did some really... He looked into this film in a really, I won't say unique, but a really intelligent way by going further back to his parents, which weren't really touched on in the previous films. So that does have some kind of an attachment. It's not so much that they were killed and he became Spider-Man to revenge them or something like that. They didn't do anything that obviously stupid. But it does set... Their deaths do send Peter Parker on a mystery, which leads him into becoming Spider-Man, which I think is very clever. Of course, it leads him into meeting Connors, who was partnered up with his parents on their work on genetic research, sort of Ninja Turtle type of stuff with cross-species stuff. Hopefully trying to repair limbs. I mean, all that stuff is like right out of, the old Lee Ditko stuff. And the performances by May and not May. The performances by Sheen and Field are just wonderful. They are a very natural, believable couple. And it's also nice to see them slightly younger. One of my problems with the Ben and May from the Raimi films was they seemed really older. It's like, how old was Peter's parents? Were they like 80 when they had him? So, it seems a little bit more believable, frankly. Anyway, it starts. He starts getting into this mystery of like, who are my parents? What were they working on? What did it have to do? I think he does have this feeling. It's not expressed too much, but he does have this feeling that maybe it does tie into their death somehow. I mean, he's not to that point where he's like, oh, there's a conspiracy, but I think he's very interested, and it leads him into meeting Connors, who is working on this material. Of course, while snooping around, he gets bitten by a whole bunch of freaky mutated spiders, which, of course, turns him into Spider-Man. Now, one of the things I like about this film is Peter Parker he is fascinated by science. He is, at his heart, maybe a young fledgling scientist like he is in the comics. And one of the things I had a problem with the first ones is I don't know, it's kind of mentioned that he likes science and he is a student and he's smart, but it never really plays into who he is as Spider-Man, and that is what I kind of like. That, yeah, he's got these cool spider powers, but, he does use his brain a lot. I mean, the web shooters are invented by him, and he invented the fluid, the spider fluid, that is, quite amazing. That's some amazing shit he made up in, Aunt May's kitchen or whatever the fuck, wherever the fuck he made it. I like also the process after he's bitten, and just putting it together, the whole web shooter thing, and trying to figure it out, and you actually see him stitching a costume together. And the first version of the costume is basically his clothes with the mask, which is very realistically done, very believable, and that mask is still pretty cool. And then you kind of buy him, getting better and better at figuring out, how the costume works. Now, the scene where Uncle Ben is killed really does come very natural, and you can see how he really does take that to heart, at that, it was his fault, and that he could have stopped him. And it's not the same exact way where he lets the guy run right past him, but I mean, he could have stopped him. Then of course that leads him on to the mystery as to finding his uncle's killer, which he actually never does. I do wonder if that is being saved for a future film. I do see a little bit that here and there in this movie, where newer superhero films are done a little differently than superhero films from just a few years ago, where they realize, the studios, the producers, the filmmakers, they're all smart enough to know that if these things are successful, we'll be able to make a whole bunch of these. So why not spread the story out instead of throwing all our eggs in one basket and have the girlfriend and save the world and kill the bad guy and all that shit and take care of everything in one film. You don't have to worry about that anymore. If your film is successful, people want to continue on with the story, and I think just the amount of superhero films that have come out over the last few years, and yeah, Harry Potter isn't a superhero film, but that actually, if you look at it, that I think has partly influenced some superhero films too, because you see that story develop over the course of 7-8 films. So studios understand when something is successful that they can do it over and over again, and that's pretty much what we're seeing here. Emma Stone is fantastic. I've loved that actress since I first saw her, and yeah, I was disappointed she didn't play Mary Jane. I thought she would have been a perfect Mary Jane, but holy crap, I mean, she's a great actress, so she really does bring a lot of heart and intelligence to Gwen, and she is an assistant to Connors, and she does. She's told early on, and that scene where he tells her is really natural and believable, and that's a good example of how the chemistry, not between Garfield and Stone, is really spot on, but the chemistry among the whole cast. I mean, everybody seems like normal. Well, maybe not so normal, but people that you could meet in the, well, maybe not that either. Well, they seem like people who are adults, and they think, and they're intelligent. And this film does a few things here and there where the previous films would kind of like let go and wouldn't even touch on. But there's a moment where Gwen realizes that Spidey doesn't want to talk to her, and she knows right away. She doesn't go, well, that's weird, like maybe they would have done, the previous films. I really love that. I mean, these characters are smart. It's so, it's refreshing. There's also no girlfriend kidnapping, which is nice. This is Gwen, so we'll probably get that in a future film. And I'm just really in awe of just the craftsmanship of this film. There's just so many human moments, and even when there's no dialogue, I mean, it just all seems so believable. And this is what happens when the studios take a chance with a talented filmmaker and just let them go at it. Wow, what a great film! I do highly recommend it. I do think, in one more comparison to the older films, I do think you really do feel what these characters are going through instead of being told, which I think is probably maybe the biggest problem with the other films. The other films seem like they were written by like a teenager who hasn't felt these issues yet, but they know. And this film feels like it was made by somebody who did have heartbreak, who did have some loss, and feelings of responsibility and pressure. Oh boy, this film really does. And also little bit parts too, like Flash Thompson, I think, was like the most intelligently written of all the Flash Thompsons I've ever seen. Every time I've seen Flash Thompson, he's always been the one-note bully, and we get to see kind of the comic book Flash Thompson. Yeah, he's a dick to Peter, and he treats him like shit. And we have a lot of fun when Peter gets the best of him, but then there's that moment later in the film where you get to see another side of Flash, and I mean, that's just wonderful. It just makes me, as an old Spider-Man fan, it really does tug at the heartstrings there, and I just can't get enough of it. Also stay after the credits, because there is a little moment at the end. I won't really give too much, but it's actually not all the way at the end of the credits. By the way, if I directed a superhero film, I think after the credits of my film, let's say I get to make Green Arrow or something like that, after the end, I'll let the whole credits roll. I would probably play that clip of Ferris Bueller walking after the credits going, "Hey, go home," and then goes, just to fuck with the audience. But anyway, I dug this film a lot. I'm going to definitely recommend it. 5 Ram chips. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So push the button, Lindsay.